lie. Was so proudly we held at the twilight that's gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we walked were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular upon spurs singing there, yeah, through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Welcome to Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Presented by the Barndominium Company and Resto Pros of the Midlands. Part of the Chief Sports Network. Go Gamecocks!
He'll be fire on the mountain.
That's a win! Ball is way out of here.
5 consecutive home runs for Carolina.
It is good. It's on.
He's in. Touchdown. Williams with a throw to the plate.
He's going to score. It's a walk-off.
Touchdown, South Carolina.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home inside the Gamecocks, the morning show built by the Barndo Co. and brought to you by our friends at Resto Pros, who are there when you need them. Resto Pros of the Midlands, Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. The Barndominium Company can build your dream home across the Carolinas if you head to the barndoco.com and let them do it. Take a look at their dream homes that they've already built for families all over the place. Their renderings, their awards, etc. etc. is a big word for them because they've done it all. The barndoco.com. That is Mike Morgan or Golden Tones, whatever you want to call him. I am JB. Not so Golden Tones, but we're here until noon. We got a late programming change here. There will not be a show after us today. We've got a lot of chaotic work stuff that has come up in the last probably half hour or so, and either I have to deal with it or JC does. So JC's going to deal with it since I had to get on the air. So we apologize. I just got off the phone with him. He's alive, Mike. He's not preparing for another yard sale, but he is alive, and everything is going to be a-okay. So we'll carry it. We can carry the load. So can John Strickland. He's a big guy. He can carry anything.
Shoot, we could just have Strick do the 12-1 power hour solo.
Just on bourbon alone.
Just on a couple of shots of, let's see, I'm gonna say Blanton's today for Strick.
Yeah.
Blanton's today for Strick, and just have him wax poetic about the Lou years during his time. He's always got some good stories. What I love about the segment with Strick is that we just wind up going down a rabbit hole. We never know. We don't. People should know. A lot of like shows, national shows, and other shows. I know I've been a part of these where the producer has like questions lined up.
Yeah.
And I've never really liked that because, first off, too often the sign of a bad interviewer is you ask a question, you're not really listening to the answer because you're thinking of the next question.
I know.
So what happens is the answer is begging for a follow-up, but you don't do the follow-up because you're so intent on going on the next question on the list.
Yeah.
Well, needless to say, we don't do that here. It's a just kind of I'm not going to call it grab ass because I mean this in a good way. We just kind of let it flow. We don't have major show meetings, which is something else I'm used to. I'm used to a very structured lifestyle in a different formats in TV and radio. Here, we just kind of we flick on the mic. We do have a purpose. Jamie and I are both kind of type A when it comes to that.
There is some structure for what it's worth.
There is some, absolutely.
Like,
I'm saying you and I don't. We texted back and forth this morning on a couple of things, but we don't. Okay, in the A block, we're going to say this, and the B block, we don't do any of that.
I'm not scripted, man.
We're unscripted. We're unfettered. For better or for worse, we just let it roll. And when Strick is on, I have no idea where we're going, but I like it that way because Strick has always got something in his back pocket. I mean, the fact that we stumbled upon, he just happened to be a former roommate of the guy who's one of the biggest boosters in all of college athletics. The
Sugar Raider.
Yeah, the head of the Matador Club at Texas Tech. I never would have put those two together, ever. But Strick knows him well and probably has asked him for a loan or two.
He may have. Generally, in Strick's back pocket, it's a flask, but this guy's back there too, as we found out, as you just pointed out. So
that's right.
Yeah, we've got speaking of that, we do have a lot to get to. We've got happy meters today. We've got a drive around the SEC. We've got quarterbacks and cornerbacks with John Strickland. We've pretty much gone through every position group with him to this point. The room itself, I think you know who the starting quarterback of South Carolina is, just out of curiosity, right? You know it's Lenore Sellers. Just want to make sure. I think we all know that. And I think we know who else is in the quarterback room. But we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into that group with him today. And then the secondary for South Carolina, I think it has a chance to be pretty surprising to a lot of people. Maybe not so surprising to us around here because we know who's on the roster. We know how long they've been there. We know what they've done. But you're starting to see some people kind of pay attention a little bit more, and the fact that the Gamecocks are still pretty old in that room, Mike, and fairly experienced. And so we'll talk about that. And we've got some Omaha stuff. I got another quote, by the way, from your boy Castellanos down in Tallahassee.
Oh man, what are you doing, bro? I saw it.
I mean, come on, man.
Don't poke the bear, dude.
Why? What? You know this team won 2 games last year, right? Thomas, and
it's Castellanos, not Castellanos. Look, I do think Florida State's going to be better this year. Just kind of putting them under the microscope and looking what's under the hood. I do think they are going to be competitive again in the ACC. Last year was a throwaway. They wanted Cam Ward. They didn't bid high enough. They settled for DJ. They thought they would catch lightning in a bottle with him. He was an unmitigated disaster. And that just set the wheels in that and a bad portal class, unlike the year before where they struck gold with it. That's how quickly it can change in college football. That's how quickly it can change in college football for most teams out there. Now, it doesn't seem to change that way for Ohio State much. And it doesn't seem to change that way for Georgia much. But for just about everybody else, it can go down the drain that quick. And that's what happened to Florida State. But, man, why would you give them material? Why would you give that Alabama defense, which this just in is still nasty, why are you doing that, bro? Like, it's not very smart, but we'll see.
Well, and exactly. No, it's not smart. And the quote that we're talking about here is more so about his peers, where he says, I feel like I tore the ACC up by my damn self for the last 2 years. And now I'm with a squad that won 2 games. I hope people don't think that Florida State is going to be the same team it was last year because we have weapons. People just can't sit back in zone coverage and watch me. Well, I mentioned yesterday in the first quote that I read, and the second, and the third about him when he was referencing, Alabama and Boston College and everybody. There was a very popular 1-letter word in all of those quotes, and it was I. So who's this about? Is this about you, or is this about Florida State? And I think I'm going to steal a tactic, if you will, from a award-winning host of Chin Music, Chad Holbrook, who also happens to coach college baseball, for anybody wondering. Last week when I referenced to him the other day what happened with Arkansas again in Omaha. And he did what good college coaches do. He redirected, right? Instead of going down the rabbit hole, and he redirected. He said, well, I think it makes you appreciate what Peter Mooney and Scott Wingo did when they were at South Carolina, and what that group did that we had, because they were just balls of steel. Bases loaded, nobody out, 1 run scores, the game's over. We got it. We'll handle it. It's okay, Matt. Let him hit a line drive. We'll be fine. And the rest is history, as we know, right? But what did he do? He went on to credit the guys who did things well. So I'm going to take that tactic here and credit Lenora Sellers, because matter of fact, I'm trying to think of a time where I've heard Lenora Sellers speak, unless he was asked a direct question about something about his development or what did you see on that throw or something like that, where he had to answer the question directly. Everything that he says is about South Carolina Gamecock football. It's about his offense. It's about his OC. It's about his running backs. It's about his wide receivers. It's about his offensive line. It's about his head coach. It's about the fans. It's about the program. He never sits there and says, well, I'm going to tell you what, boy. Better not sit in zone coverage with me, because I'm going to pick you apart all damn day. I'm going to tell you. You never hear it. So I think that this is an opportunity for Carolina fans when they see something like this, and we're a Carolina show, so I'm redirecting here, to appreciate the fact that there is a leader who is not all about himself, even though every conversation that basically is had about Gamecock football right now, Mike, starts with Lenora Sellers.
Yeah, true. I mean, he handles his business the way you'd want. But so does Arch Manning, Garrett Nussmeier, DJ Wagway. Like, I don't expect the Castellanoses of the world, and now Diego Pavia, who somehow has gotten this bug to sound off on everything and everybody. That's really the exception of the rule. I think most of these young men, to give them credit too, they know better. I mean, if you're going and kind of marching to the beat of your own drummer and talking smack and everything is I, it's not a nothing. I've never seen that work out real well for a quarterback. Like, if you're a shutdown corner and you want to talk a lot of smack, fine. God knows, if you've ever been on the field and you listen to wide receivers and DBs at that level go back and forth, it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
You could do a whole reality show just on that. But when you're the quarterback, you're like the CEO. And especially now, when you're making 7 figures like all these guys are, you're the CEO. You're expected to act like a CEO. That's not how a CEO acts. CEO makes things happen with his actions, not with his mouth.
Yeah. Well, hey, man. And look, okay, Boston College was 4-4 last year, 7-6, and what we pretty much discovered was a not very good league. To give Diego Pavia some wiggle room on this, they were not very good ever. Vanderbilt wasn't. and they did some really good things in the league last year. Matter of fact, outside of the South Carolina loss and the 13-point loss to Tennessee, Mike, they were in every game that they played in. You know, every game they had a chance to maybe not win, but they were knocking on the door of winning. And some of those games they did have a chance to win, as we all well know. This guy is playing for a Florida State team that was 1-7 and 2-10 in as bad of a league as we've seen in a long time in the ACC. And I don't know that it's going to be much better this year. And you know what? He might be right. He might pick these guys apart because it's just not a very good league. But I find it, even though I gave Diego Pavia some credit to kind of bounce off of what you just said a moment ago, neither one of these teams are very good. And those are the loudest mouths we're hearing from the quarterbacks here in quote unquote talking season. Thank God for Steve Spurrier. He gave it a great name, because this is, I think it's silly. I mean, what these guys are doing, I don't see how it's helping, to be honest.
I don't either, but the great thing is, let's see, I have 59 days and counting to week 0. So 66 days and counting, 65 days and counting for the Friday night games.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, all that talk means nothing. And you're going to have to back your you-know-what up on the field. And that's when that's when all this stuff is just, it just goes into the ether. It means nothing. It signifies nothing. It translates into nothing. It's the off season. So if you want to make headlines, the easiest way to do it is to just kind of start spouting off, and you can get some headlines that way. But I don't think it's going to mean a whole lot. And I promise you, Alabama's listening to it. I promise you, the teams in the SEC that Diego referenced, they're listening to it. So good luck with all that. That's all I can say.
Bama's like, dude, when we win the national championships, people don't come at us like this. We go out and win 9 games last year, and now everybody wants a piece. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're sensing some blood in the water. I mean, look, Alabama's got their own question. Let me ask you this on that note, because we don't really know who Alabama's quarterback is. We think we know who it might be, or one of 2 guys or 3 guys that it might be. Do you think if Castellanos or Pavia were in a Crimson Tide uniform that they would be the surefire starting quarterback for that squad?
Great question.
I don't even think they fit into what Alabama wants to really do.
Yeah, I don't. Pavia is an interesting one. Look, as much as I think it's silly to start mouthing off as the Vanderbilt signal caller, he does have something that I love. Like, I think he's uber entertaining.
I do too.
And I sure as hell don't think they win the games they do without him.
I'd like to play with him.
Yeah, I'd say that too.
I sense more team in him than I do in this kid at Florida State. A lot more.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough about Castellanos in the locker room.
Just judging by the quotes.
Yeah, I know. Who knows? Who knows? You know, and who knows if he even keeps the job, for crying out. I mean, if they get smoked by Bama and they don't do anything offensively, who's to say Florida State fans don't start calling for the freshman? Like, he's not guaranteed to start all 12 games.
Well, he better start week 2. They got mighty East Texas A&M coming to town that week, Mike.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was an East Texas. Do they have male dancers like the Aggies do? Or no?
I think it's more of a Magic Mike thing going on there. It's a little different. Yeah. A little different.
I was just curious.
Different vibe there, but
yeah. I mean, who do you want early in the season, Mike? Like, who are you? Would you rather have? I mean, nobody wants to see Long Island University walk in, but the Gators unfortunately drew that card in week 1, and Florida State gets East Texas A&M in week 2. I mean, I don't. This is going to be a tough September for both of these clubs.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't want to hear from Big Ten fans, and we hear this the week before rivalry week. usually in the SEC. Oh, it's SoCon Saturday. Everybody plays a cupcake. Don't think you're any better. Everybody plays a cupcake. So what, Mike? The cupcake we're playing is better than your cupcake. Every coach schedules an automatic dub. It's a paycheck game. You write a check. You go home with a win. You play your backups. Carolina does it too. Everybody does it. I look forward to the day where we have 9 conference games. Fans are paying more money than ever, and they're dedicating more time than ever to college football. I think the fans deserve 9 conference games, and for that matter, as we encroach on a 16-team playoff, give me 9 and give me a Big Ten opponent, and then I'll get my 1 cupcake. So yes, Carolina can schedule Furman, Wofford, whatever in-state. If you want to go out of state, you can go East Tennessee State, you can go Eastern Illinois, you can go Western Illinois, you can go Northwestern Illinois, Southwestern Illinois, whatever the case may be. You get your 1 cupcake, which is almost like a pseudo bye week. But the other 11 games, of which fans pay their hard money for, should and can be legitimate opponents. I think we're getting past the days of having multiple games on the schedule where you look at it and you're like, I think I might just sit this one out.
Yeah. The Big Ten's got plenty of them, as you pointed out. I mean, Ohio State plays the Ohio Bobcats. Hat tip to them for writing the check, though.
Well, the thing is, like the whole Big Ten, they love them some MAC football. Now, I've done my fair share of MAC games. I can tell you, there are FCS teams that can beat MAC teams.
Mm-hmm.
So just because the MAC teams are FBS, don't stick your nose up at cream puffs that the SEC is playing. There are some awful, awful teams in the MAC. And if you know what you're doing, you schedule the ones that you really, you don't have to sweat over.
Yeah.
So I think as a whole, fans are just kind of tired of that and they're bored with it. And we're now gravitating more and more to the pro model where on every given week, every given Saturday, minus the buys, you want to go ahead and have an opponent that it's a legitimate, my 85 versus your 85, or now my 105 versus your 105. And yeah, we can still schedule wins, but at least it's going to be some decent games. Like in the case of Carolina, when it does happen, an extra conference game over a whomever, Wofford. I hate to pick on the Mighty Terriers. And then I'd rather see Carolina take on, I don't know. I don't want to say Illinois because that brings back bad memories. Somebody from the Big Ten that's middle. You're not going to be. They're not going to match the Gamecocks up against Penn State, Ohio
Nebraska.
State. Okay.
The Satterfield Bowl. You there?
Yeah, sorry about that. My mic went out. Yeah, Nebraska. A home and home with the Cornhuskers.
I would go there.
A winnable game and a cool opponent that the Gamecocks haven't played since what, the 80s?
No, we played them in the Capital One Bowl in 2013.
Regular season.
Oh, yeah.
I believe I believe in the 1980s they might have had a home and home. And if I'm not mistaken, Carolina won in Lincoln.
They did. Mm-hmm.
So that would be I just think, and you don't have to be perfect anymore to make the playoff. And the Love Chevy driver on the SEC, I'll go over some numbers, some interesting kind of what the chances are to. There's a poll out there. I think this is interesting. Each team's chances to be in the college football playoff at large discussion based on power ratings.
Okay.
No, it's a lot to digest, but
yeah, you'll have to explain that one when we get.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do a deep dive on that. But the thing is, like the thing about it is to the bigger point is that you don't have to go 11-1 to play for a national championship anymore.
Yeah.
You don't. So why not play legitimate games? I do believe if there's one thing Greg Sankey accomplished in all that rigmarole talk about everything in regards to the playoff, is it going to be 5-11? Is it going to be 4-4-2-2-1? Is it going to be? He did a power move on the last day in Destin, and he gave everybody their little 10-page packet to look at. And it basically, and if you can read it online, it's not top secret information. If you look at it, it says clear as day the difference between a 9-3 team in the SEC and a 10-2 team in some of these other places. And if you can't tell the difference, maybe you ought to take yourself off the panel, the selection committee. So that, I think that's actually going to move the ball forward. I really do believe this will be the year where a 9-3 SEC team leapfrogs a 10-2 team somewhere else that doesn't have nearly the credentials. I think that will happen.
Yeah,
and that could be a Gamecock team. You and I talked about this yesterday about, the chances of what are we doing? Tiers, right? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 2, which is where I would put Carolina. Tier 2 is going to have somebody make the playoff.
Right.
Because if tier 1 is Texas, Georgia, Alabama, I realize some people might put LSU in there. Some people might put somebody else in there. That's my tier 1. Tier 2 is going to have at least one SEC team make the playoff. And if Carolina can replicate what they did last year and go 9-3, and as you pointed out, astutely so, it depends on who the 9 are, it depends on who the 3 are. How do you look in those losses? How do you look in those wins? All understood. But we can't predict the future entirely. So I'm just going to have to go 9-3 and say that with that schedule, if Carolina goes 9-3 again, particularly if one of those 9 is a home win against a highly rated Clemson team, I think they're in. I think this year they get over the hump, but we'll see.
We'll see. There's no doubt. We're going to be talking plenty about that. We've only got 2 months to do it, and then they'll kick off in late August. Got one more question on football that I'll hold until just a little bit, and I'll end this segment with this. Mike, and let you take us to break.
Sure.
Thanks. Hats off to our guys at Pick Six Previews as we started this conversation with Castellanos, the supposed new starting quarterback in Tallahassee. We'll end it with him. The quote I read, I feel like I tore the ACC up by my damn self for the last 2 years, and now I'm with a squad. It was pointed out by the Pick Six Preview guys, and I'll just read the tweet. Castellanos was benched at BC and then quit the team 3 days later.
Right.
He was 4-8 in ACC games with 20 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. BC's Castellanos-led offense ranked 60th of 68 Power 4 in my opponent adjusted metrics. Without him, quarterback Grayson James improved that to 35th.
Yeah, he didn't tear anything up except the depth chart, which he wound up going from 1 to 2 and then quit the team, as you mentioned. That's what he tore up.
And he did all that by his damn
self. He lost the quarterback job. Which is not easy to do because it's not exactly like they've got 5-star blue chips waiting on the bench over there at BC. We've got a 5-star blue chip guy that can help all our South Carolinians out there, and I know there are thousands of you, and many of you are probably looking at purchasing a home. House prices in a lot of places are down now. Mortgage rates are down as well. It's easier now to buy a home. Inflation, a lot of things are down. Makes it easier to do such a thing as make a big purchase or do a refi on your home. So where are you going to go? Well, there's a million mortgage brokers out there. I understand there's a lot of new ones popping up every day. Troy's been around since 1999, helping South Carolinians. Golden Gate Mortgage has multiple options for each individual borrowers. It's not a one-size-fits-all. That's why he's going to talk to you, consult with you, go over some things, and help lead you in the right direction. Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Again, it's the phone number that you should have on your fridge, maybe in your wallet. Explain to your wife if it's a guy. It's all good. This is not not texting late at night. 803. Yeah, it's not the State Farm guy. 803. He must be hideous. No, Troy's not hideous. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage.
For the first time ever, something has happened at the University of South Carolina. We'll tell you what that is when we return.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Disaster comes uninformed. During and after natural disasters or accidents, there can be a heavy loss to property. It can become extremely difficult to bounce back to what you knew before. Having your home or office destroyed or damaged by water, fire, smoke, or mold affects your personal and business lifestyle. Resto Pros of the Midlands is here to help. Open 24/7. Call them when you need them. 803-493-0170.
Touchdown Brewer. Set up the screen, and it goes to Brewer. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Brewer, his second of the day. Pitches it to Brewer, turns the corner. Touchdown, number 3 of the afternoon.
Hey, folks, it's Mike Morgan for Ryan Brewer Fence. That's right. You know the former Gamecock legend as a terrific college football player. Well, I know him as that, too. I also know him as the guy that runs a great business, one of the best businesses in South Carolina. How do I know that? Well, for one, I'm actually a client of Ryan's. I had my home in Columbia done years ago, and his crew did an outstanding job, just as he does for everybody else. Whether you're in the market for a fence, railings, columns, or anything in between, their craftsmanship, their experience, and service, second to none. Ryan Brewer Fence has over 15 years of experience with consultation and installation of residential and commercial fencing and railings. Rest assured your job will be done with an unparalleled level of expertise, and it's done on time, and they do it right the first time. Again, you're not going to do any better than Ryan Brewer. Ryan Brewer Fence. The website is ryanbrewer.net. Set up an appointment today. Tell them Mike sent you.
The season rolls on at Love Chevrolet, where the inventory is overflowing and the deals are in full bloom. Rev up your spring with Love's exclusive specials on Suburbans, Tahoes, Silverados, the entire lineup of award-winning Chevys on the lot now and ready to go. Spring-tacular savings at Love Chevrolet. We're talking the best selection of new Chevys, the lowest price, guaranteed. In fact, they'll beat any competitor's price or give you $1,000. The other dealers upsell, overcharge, and will say most anything to get the sale. At Love Chevrolet, satisfied customers do all the talking, and they say things like helpful, honest, and fun. Your trusted hometown Chevy dealer since 1961, Love Chevrolet. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever, and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lessons today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks!
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting: hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
It is 10:35. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the morning show, brought to you by Palm Casual, where you just spray bleach on it, and any of the mold or whatever's built up comes right off. It's like it's magic. Palm Casual has 4 locations in South Carolina. They got one in Wilmington, and they're all across Florida. as well. Mike, yesterday we got the news that two guys who are very near and dear to our hearts, Ray Tanner and Kip Baltnight, are the first two South Carolina Gamecocks ever to be inducted into the College Baseball Hall of Fame in 2025. It is the largest class that I've ever seen for the Hall of Fame as well. The hall was started in 2006, and to give you an idea of how some of the names that are in this thing that have gotten in basically the last 20 years, that first class had guys named Skip Burtman, Will Clark, Rod Dado, Cliff Gustafson, Robin Ventura, Dave Winfield. The next year, there was a guy named Luke Gehrig that was inducted into the College Baseball Hall of Fame. You can go on and on. I mean, the names are there. This year, Ray Tanner and Kip Baltnight are a part of that group. The rest of it is Gene Amon, who pitched at Florida State back in the 60s and early 70s. Clemson's Chris Benson, and he was electric. Hubie Brooks, shortstop for Arizona State in the 70s. Gene Hooks from Wake Forest back in the 40s and 50s. I don't know if you were calling games yet then, but Gene was playing. Mike Lloyd, he was a pitcher at Florida State in the 80s. A guy named Mark McGuire, who played at Southern Cal as a first baseman and a pitcher, for those of you that didn't know that. Phil Nevin is in this year's class as well, third baseman from Cal State Fullerton in the early 90s. Another dude, this guy was a bad man too. Mike, you called a couple of his games. His name was David Price. He's a left-hander that pitched at Vanderbilt University. Earl Sanders, pitcher from Jackson State in the 80s. Mike Stenhouse, outfielder from Harvard in the 70s. Another guy who was pretty good at San Diego State, Steven Strasburg, will be in this year's Hall of Fame. Joe Thomas, pitcher, first baseman from beautiful Marietta College in the mid-90s. Norm DeBrine, coach at the University of Arkansas from 1970 until 2002. Everybody know who came after him. Clint Evans, coach, University of California, 1930 to 1954. Tad before my time, but I do know the name. Ray Fisher. These are posthumous awards for anybody wondering. Ray Fisher played for Middlebury College. They were quite the power in 1907, and he was a third baseman, pitcher, and a coach. All the same. He ended up also coaching at the University of Michigan. Les Murakami, coach at the University of Hawaii from 1968 to 1997. And then a couple of names here that are interesting. Jerry Weinstein, who follows me on Twitter, by the way. He's a great catcher's coach. He coached at Sacramento City College until 1998. Paul Gilly. Mike, you know Paul?
Gillier, the umpire, yeah.
Or Gillier, I'm sorry. Yeah, SEC coordinator of baseball umpires and an umpire himself for 24 years. And Scott Boras has entered the chat. Scott Boras will be inducted into the College Baseball Hall of Fame this year, in addition to Coach Tanner.
As a what?
As an agent.
We're putting him in as an agent?
Putting him in as an agent.
Okay. It's an interesting.
I don't know, man. There's NIL deals going on everywhere.
I guess so.
Well, I think I can understand the angle on that. The amount of guys he's represented from college baseball that have gone into pro baseball, I get it.
Yeah, he's become a multi-millionaire off of those young men's hard work. Not being critical, agents can do a service.
I remember when he was representing Weeders. I learned a little bit about Scott Boras when Matt signed him. And, guy knows what he's doing, that's for sure.
No doubt. And for those wondering, like for years, I've called Ray Tanner a Hall of Famer. He's already in one Hall of Fame. This Hall of Fame is relatively new. You said since what year?
2006.
Yeah. So Ray's already in the ABCA Hall of Fame.
That's right.
So this is the second Hall of Fame for Ray, and it's the first one for Kip. So yeah, I mean,
and these are no-brainers.
These are no-brainers. I've said this many times about Kip. You can't write the book on the ascension of Gamecock baseball without a chapter on Kip Baltnight and what this is at a point where South Carolina wasn't recruiting nationally a lot of high top recruits.
No.
And there's Kip in your backyard. And remember, Whetstone was actually the higher prospect. Tall, skinny, great stuff. Great artist, by the way. You can buy some of his work online.
It's good.
We'll plug for him.
Well, Kip wasn't even going to go to South Carolina. He told that story on our program before.
Where was he going to go?
No, he was going to go to NC State and go play, and because when his recruitment started, that's when it was Coach Tanner was still there. He hadn't got here.
Yeah. So he goes to Carolina, and then in 2000 and 2001, he just lights the world on fire. And he didn't do it with electric stuff. He did it with knowing how to pitch and just grit and gut. And if you could change one thing about kind of the history of this successful era, is that Kip deserved one trip to Omaha. And almost got there in 2000, 2001. Again, 2-3-2 losses in game threes of a super. But he was phenomenal and won the Golden Spikes in 2000. It's so hard to do that, particularly as a pitcher, and he did it. He won a few of those awards. I think Brad Cressy of LSU was the only one he didn't sweep. Cressy won one of them. But well deserved by both, as you mentioned. Pretty much no brainers, especially for a Hall of Fame that started in 06. So when I first heard that, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Ray's already in the Hall of Fame.
I know. I had to
another Hall of Fame
too. Yeah. I had to double check too. But I we were talking the other day about unbreakable records. You remember that, Mike? We admitted a couple that won't be broken at South Carolina. Period.
Sure.
At the end. You can say whatever you want. Not going to happen. Kip Baltnight pitched in 482 innings. That's not happening again. Those days are long gone.
Yeah.
And in starting 66 games, he won 45 games. These guys don't even stick around long enough to qualify for 45 wins anymore. So, I mean, he had 57 decisions in 66 games. That doesn't happen anymore. Like you don't qualify for enough. And I mean, shoot, I think a good year now is if you get to double digits and wins. That's a great year, actually. A great year.
Yeah.
He had 17, but the 482, they'll never touch. Nobody will ever touch that. I think
the numbers of Kip and then the numbers I mentioned from Earl Bass, who's before our time, but I know enough and got to know enough of the quote unquote old timers to give a little more historical context for me on Earl. Those numbers aren't being broken. Go look at Earl's career numbers, and they're not going anywhere.
It's like an old school big league baseball. Any record that Cy Young has will be a record forever.
Yeah, 511 wins. It's not being broken.
That's never going to happen. Like,
no,
never. I mean, the game's too different.
And for those that missed that show, what we're talking about, if I can find it in my Earl Bass. 34-3. That's a winning percentage of over 90%, if my math is correct. a career earned run average of 1.34. Good luck with that. And 10 complete game shutouts. Most of these guys, if you gave them 10 years in a college uniform, would not have 10 complete game shutouts. So, yeah, different deal there. Different deal. Hey, while we're on the subject of history, history is going to be made in about 30 hours, 32 hours, give or take, tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I speak of.
Mm-hmm.
Collin Murray-Boyles is going to be selected in the first round. You have any idea how many Gamecocks all time have been selected in the first round of the NBA draft?
All time. In the first round.
We now have 2 rounds. For years and years, we had like 10. They were drafting taxi drivers with a good hook shot in a pickup game. But now, always really, to be in a first round draft pick, it's got to be something special.
Well, they had a lot in the 70s. We are counting that era.
We're counting everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let me think about this for a second. Kevin Joyce went in the first round.
Now, if this were trivia night, we would demand you take away your phone and your laptop while answering this question.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm not quick enough to be able to even look up something like that, so I'm going to think off the top of my head right now. Joyce went in the first round. John Roach went in the first round. Skip Harlica went in the first round, right? Yep, that's 3. Tom Winters, did he go in the first round? He went in the first round.
Brian Winters did.
Or Tom, yeah, Brian Winters.
Tom was a short order cook at the
Yeah.
Hilton off Bush River Road, but
Okay.
Also a good pickup player.
No, there was a Tom.
You're thinking of Tom Riker.
Did he go in the first round?
Oh yeah, Tom Riker,
Okay.
who I played in a 3-on-3 basketball tournament with years ago. He was actually a nurse. He just got off work, and
Yeah, Tom. Yeah.
Tom Riker was every bit of 6'11", and he was the 8th overall pick by the Knicks in 1972.
Okay. So how many is that? That's 5.
I think you've named 5.
Okay, and then you got you got GG. Or no, GG went in the second round. You've got
second.
You got Balkman, I guess, would have been the last one out of the first round, right?
The last one in 19 years ago. Many of us sat in amazement when Isaiah Thomas said, "Give me the plastic man at number 20."
Yeah. Okay. So
you're only missing one guy, and he's not the dad in Happy Days. It's a different guy with that name. I don't think you're going to get. I wouldn't have gotten this one. Don't feel bad. Tom Boswell.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Well, I wouldn't have gotten that one. I'll tell you that.
No, I mean, I know the name, but I wouldn't have got it. I didn't. No. Sorry to the Boswell family. My apologies.
You mentioned Harlica.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. I interviewed him when he was the SEC nominee or SEC honoree at the basketball tournament years ago. He was 13th overall in 1968, so he was the first by the St. Louis Hawks.
Yeah.
Skip Harlica.
Can I interrupt? You might be going here, so I don't. If I blow your cover, my
no, go ahead.
I think if you ask that question to 10 out of 10 people, I would go not 9 out of 10. I go no. I'll give it some credit. I'll go 9 out of 10 are going to say Alex English went in the first round, but he didn't. He was a second rounder.
That's right. Can I tell you one other funny story on Harlica? This happened just a few weeks ago. I play in a league in Atlanta, and this guy is guarding me, and he's like all over me. He's making me work for my points. And we started talking after the game, and I don't know how it came up. I said, you played some college ball, didn't you? He goes, yeah, I played at Georgia Tech. And I knew one of his teammates there. I said, what's your name? And the last name was Harlica. I said, you're not related to Skip Harlica, are you? He goes, that's my dad.
Wow.
I said, I know who your dad is. He's a legend at South Carolina. He goes, how in the hell? And anyway, that started the conversation, but small world. So I just wound up playing with Skip Harlica's son. But he was the first pick in 1968. John Roach, legendary, 1971 by the Suns. Tom Riker, we just talked about, 8th overall pick. So he's the highest Gamecock to ever be selected. 1972 by the Knicks.
That's what I was about to ask. Okay.
Kevin Joyce, who played in the Olympics, 11th overall pick. Brian Winters, 12th overall pick. Tom Boswell, not the dad on Happy Days, 17th overall pick by the Celtics in 75. And the last one was Ronaldo Balkman, the 20th pick. And you're right. A lot of people say, what about Alex English? Well, he was 23rd overall, which today would be a first rounder. But back then, that was the second round in 1976. So Murray-Boyles is going to make history one way or another. He's going to be the first round pick in 19 years. He's going to be the 8th Gamecock to be called at the podium in the first round all time. He's got a chance to be a top 10 pick. Now, I don't think he's going to be top 10, but if he is, that trade with Houston and Phoenix, the Kevin Durant trade, could be the thing that helps make that happen.
Yes.
I actually think if he's still sitting there at 13, the Hawks, a team I know a thing or two about, I think he would fit in well with the Atlanta Hawks. But we shall see. But he's going to make history regardless.
Yeah, ESPN referenced that. I saw that in their latest mock draft, which came out yesterday. As a matter of fact, actually, what it says here is exactly what you pointed out. On Sunday, the Suns agreed on a blockbuster trade, sending Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick in this year's draft, and 5 second-round picks. Sources told ESPN on Sunday, with the Suns desperately needing to upgrade their front court, especially after losing their starting power forward in Durant. Murray-Boyles is likely someone the team will consider heavily if it keeps the pick, along with a more traditional big man such as Derek Queen. I don't know if they're implying that they would be replacing Kevin Durant with Collin Murray-Boyles or not.
Well,
I
don't
think that's what they're implying.
Not exactly.
Not apples to apples here, right? Okay.
Right. If you read like the thing that scouts love about him is his defense.
Yeah.
And what they're hoping is the shooting will come along because he's not a great shooter.
Right.
He's just not. And the fact that a guy that has not really displayed much of an outside shot, who is in socks 6'7", could be a lottery pick, tells you everything about all the other things they love in his game. Number one, defense. Number two, and I've said this many times, there's a lot of players that once you interview them, they just lost a lot of money. When you interview Collin Murray-Boyles, you become more impressed and you want to take him more. He makes money the more he talks to teams one-on-one.
Yeah.
And then there's, raw athleticism, explosiveness. He's always had that. That's God-given. You can't teach that. So these are the things that are going to help Collin Murray-Boyles. He is a unicorn in a lot of ways, that a 6'7" guy without a true jump shot can go this high in today's NBA. That just does not happen. So he's a very unusual commodity in that respect.
He will go in the first round tomorrow night. I think this is not going to be a Shadur Sanders type situation.
No.
What does that say about South Carolina basketball? Because they'll have Gigi, who went in the second, Collin, who goes in the first, coming off of 2 poor years under Lamont Paris last year. Of course, they got to the tournament. They didn't have a draft pick like this. But how does this benefit the Gamecock basketball program?
Great question. I think, Jamie, anytime, we just mentioned this program's gone 19 years without a first-round draft pick.
Right.
I don't know how many other SEC teams have gone 19 years without a first-round draft pick. It's like the quarterback drought that has lasted so long, which is likely going to snap this year with Sellers. When players all go to college, they want to play pro. And so when they go in that practice facility and when they go in the locker room and they see pictures of guys on the wall that are in the NBA currently, no disrespect to Alex English, who was one of my favorite NBA players of all time, but these kids don't know Alex English. They don't know Doug Moe and the Denver Nuggets of the 80s. They don't know that. It's just like and they certainly don't know John Roach and Tom Riker. That's like, horse and buggy era to them. So to see Gigi Jackson, who didn't do much in a Carolina uniform, and to see Collin Murray-Boyles, who is a true all-SEC stud in his 2 years, I think that only helps in recruiting. It's nothing but good, Jamie. Good upon good. Now, obviously, the ultimate is to back that up with more tournament appearances. Tennessee, when Chaz Lanier is selected, and he won't go as high as Murray-Boyles, he'll go probably second round. That'll be the 5th consecutive year they've had a draft pick.
Yeah.
That's never happened in the history of Tennessee basketball.
Well, and to put it into perspective, this will be the 5th draft pick for South Carolina this century. Ronaldo Balkin, Darius Thornwell, Or I'm sorry, the fourth, GG Jackson and CMB. That's it. That's all that's gone since 2000. I mean, I actually did just pull the draft stuff here just a second ago, and I'm looking at those first rounders and stuff. Basically, essentially, until the draft changed, because it was all seniors with the exception of Jim Strickland, who went in the 7th round in 1979. He was a junior. Every other player that ever left the University of South Carolina was drafted into the NBA was a senior. All right. Thornwell was also a senior. Balkman, was the first true underclassman as a junior, in this era, if you will. And of course, GG Jackson is the course early entry who was able to go get drafted. But you're talking about, it's these numbers. I hate saying these things because I grew up in this program and in Frank McGuire Arena, and had a lot of great times in there. But this program has been dismal. It's really been pretty awful. They didn't even have a draft pick between 2006 to 2017. That's 11 years. That one player getting his name called.
Yeah.
4 this century after there's only 3 now. 4.
Well, it's more than that. It's going 19 years or so between tournament appearances.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just adding on to all that.
Going since winning a tournament game, the Final Four year.
I just think that that, Mike, it provides a little cover for coaches to me. I know that everybody wants to win now and fire this guy and fire that guy and, let's fire Lamont Paris and let's fire. None of it's worked since Frank McGuire. None of it has really worked. Have they really hired that many coaches who just suck?
Well, yeah. We could add this conversation to other sports, right? Is it all just bad coaching hires, or is there something else? Has the history of football, basketball, baseball just been bad hires minus a few, or is there something deeper than that hopefully gets fixed in time? That's a whole week of shows if you wanted to.
Darren Horn aside.
Darren Horn aside. Yeah. That's a whole separate category. Him and Steve Newton are a whole separate category
with everybody there. You don't have to convince me of that.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. But no, it's exciting, and I think anytime you have high draft, the thing about it is, if you could have combined some of these things, if you could have had Murray-Boyles and a GG Jackson that came back for another. GG's buried on the bench now.
Yeah.
I thought Dozier would have been well suited to have another year, but I understand he had a knee and he wanted. I don't blame him for going. He wanted to cash in while he could, but if you could have just overlapped some of these things, and then you could say, what if the BJ, Larry Davis, Ryan Stack, Melvin Watson team actually beat Coppin State? What if the Dave Oldham teams that had Balkman a first-round pick, Kinsey played in the NBA, Wallace had a cup of coffee, Kelly was always right on the verge? How did they not win an NCAA tournament game? There's just a lot of that to where Gamecock basketball fans as a whole are just what the hell, man? We deserve some nice things too.
Yeah.
And you're right. You do. And I have to believe it's coming. I've never bought into the excuses, Jamie. I've heard them all and I don't buy it.
Well, I hope you're right. Matter of fact, John's got some stuff up on the Big Spur right now. He had a chance to see some of these guys yesterday and talk to Lamont Paris. And, I talked to John last night for a little while. He said that he feels like they like where they are as it is in the middle of the summer. Mm-hmm. We'll see. All right, Mike, get us to a timeout.
Watching a movie or a TV show, or was he
involved? John, no, he was preparing the VIP room drop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
socially, he's.
Oh, he was just sitting at a bar or somewhere. No, I'm just kidding. He was.
Well, if he was sitting at a bar, it would have been D's Wings, and he would have been enjoying 75-cent wings last night. Maybe he'll go for a double dose today for lunch and do Taco Tuesday. Carnita tacos, shrimp tacos, among other things. You got all the beers. Maybe you want somewhere to watch the draft tomorrow night. They've got TVs all over the place. They'll have it covered. They got you covered at D's. That's in West Columbia. Billy and the gang do an outstanding job. It's become a staple for decades in the Midlands. We love D's Wings.
It didn't. I think CMB and Chloe Kitts got engaged, right? Didn't they get engaged? Not too
I didn't
long
know
ago?
that. Hey, you're up on all the gossip. I don't know that stuff.
I just thought I saw it somewhere. I think she was like, did you say top 10 pick? Yes.
Oh, no. I'm sure this goes a little
Just kidding,
deeper than that.
Chloe.
But we love love on this show. So if that's the case, congratulations, you two. We love love.
For what it's worth, Chloe, I would have probably said yes to had he proposed to me. We all love Collin Murray-Boyles. All right, we'll load up the 2500 and take a spin around the Southeastern Conference when we return.
This is Larry Lightner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing, and for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Dry Space Crawl Space Solutions. Basement crawl space encapsulation designed for your specific needs. Your crawl space can be susceptible to all sorts of issues, including moisture buildup, mold growth, and structural damage if not cared for properly. Let our trained experts provide basement crawl space encapsulation solutions to protect your home, improve air quality, and enhance energy efficiency. Schedule your consultation today for a safer, healthier space at dryspacecs.com. Dry Space Crawl Space Solutions, proud supporters of your South Carolina Gamecocks.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
Happy summer from the Barn Dominium Company, where they are building dream homes all across the Carolinas. Their turnkey process can be custom designed, and you build it your way. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com for floor plans, photo galleries, locations, and to learn more about us. Gamecock owned and operated.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products in out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks!
This is my dirt.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Presented by the Barn Dominium Company and Resto Pros of the Midlands. Hour 2 starts now.
Yeah, I'd hate to be the first to sell. This is my dirt, these are my fields, where I harvest what I plant. That little pond, I catch bluegill. I built that barn with my 2 hands, where I raise my babies, a piece of me. Now this ain't just a piece of land. The money be great, but I can't part ways with a life that works. You can't put a greenback dollar on what it's worth. This is my dirt.
It's now time to take a drive around the SEC.
This is my dirt, Jamie. When I catch the bluegills, I go right to this dirt, right here. Did you know that?
Might see him next month. Justin Moore.
Okay. Have you been to Morgan Wallen?
I have not.
Are you a Morgan Wallen guy?
Most of it. Or I don't know about most, but a lot of it. I don't like some of it. I respect him. I respect people that do it their way.
Okay. Well, he definitely does it his way, right?
I take that back. I did see him when he was first getting going in probably 2017-ish. He was nowhere near what he is now.
He's pretty much he's selling out some big rooms. That's for sure.
Yeah. Kenny Chesney style.
Making a lot of money in the process. All right, Jamie. You know there's a rule. The Love Chevy drive around the SEC football talk discussion is mandatory. So you know that's in here. Okay.
Yeah.
You know that's baked into the cake. So we're going keep it simple here today. We've got college football discussion, which includes a quarterback ranking and some hot seat / buyout talk. We've got NBA draft and Collin Murray-Boyles news. Dealer's choice. What would you like first?
Let's go with foosball.
Okay. Let's start off with quarterback rankings. Now, this is one of those. Sometimes you like the media guy who tells you everything you want to hear, and then you hate him if you disagree with him.
Oh, that's all.
We've
all been there.
We've all been there, right? Like, I love him. Oh, he doesn't like my team. He doesn't like my play. He sucks. I never thought he was any good. So this is going to be like a confluence of love and disagreement, because we've had Josh Pate on a number of times on JC and Morgan. I'd say he's one of our most popular guests. I think Josh does a very good job. He's thought-provoking. He does his homework. He's very good behind the microphone. Would you agree with those sentiments?
I think he sucks.
Well, you might after I read this. Okay, so he came out, this is last week, with the SEC preseason quarterback rankings. Now, we've talked about this before. I think it's a 1 in a million year where Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, almost unanimously, none of them have a quarterback in the top 10 of their own conference. I don't know if we'll see that again in our lifetime, right? Once Tennessee lost Nico, Alabama's got a freshman, and Georgia's got Gunnar Stockton, who people just aren't that high on yet.
Right.
I think they might be selling him short, but that's just me. Okay, so here's Pate's review. Number 10, the loquacious Diego Pavia. Number 9, Marcel Reed. Number 8, Talon Green. I know you're a big Talon Green guy. He's got a chance to have a big year. I mean, if he stops turning it over, he's got the body, right? I mean, he walks off the bus, you're like, damn, who's that? That's Talon Green.
Oh, hello, Taylor.
Hey, Taylor. Jackson Arnold, number 7 for Auburn, former Sooner quarterback. Number 6, Austin Simmons of Ole Miss. Number 5, John Mateer. Now, do you have any ranker for any of those picks so far?
No, I can't. I mean, if I did, it would be very subjective. I can't say I disagree with it.
Okay. I don't think there's much controversy there.
No.
I might have Austin Simmons a little higher. I don't know, but not much. That would fall in line, very similar to what I would have from 5 to 10. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and this is where everybody is kind of weighing in on the top 4.
Okay.
So number 4, he has Garrett Nussmeier.
Probably about as low as I've seen.
That's as low as I've seen Garrett Nussmeier.
Especially just in the conference, let alone the country.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he led the league in passing. Doesn't mean he's the best quarterback, but he's got him number 4.
Threw for over 4,000 yards last year.
He sure did. Number 2, Arch Manning. Number 1, DJ Lagway. Where's number 3? Number 3, Lenora Sellers. So Lagway, Manning, Sellers, Nussmeier, Mateer are his top 5. Go ahead. Shoot.
Did he provide any reasoning?
He really didn't. He kind of just threw it out there, and then he let it for everybody to just kind of go ahead and rip them. For example, these are some of the comments. The Lagway glaze, that's what the term the kids are using today, Jamie. Glaze. The Lagway glaze is unreal. He's so overrated for no reason. That's from Mr. Rich Off Risks. Jason says, I know Arch has a lot of talent, but man, him being so high on everyone's list with 0 experience is alarming. Oak says, perfect list button. Danielle says, Kirby feeding this to Gunner every single day. You don't want to make Gunner Stockton angry. Levi says, Arch Manning has to be the most overrated player in history. Black Redneck says, a lot of you all are sleeping on Gunner Stockton. I'm just laughing at the handle. Trizzle Mac, Garrett Nussmeier is the most experienced. He should be number 1. What did Jackson Arnold do? No Alabama or Georgia quarterback in sight. Whoa. Josh Pate did respond to that. Yes. Gunner Stockton will have better stats than all of them. Book it. And then here you go. Lucas Dominguez with 2 Z's says better list. Number 1, Sellers, then Nussmeier, then Manning, then Lagway. Anyway, just different opinions.
So let me ask you this.
Are you baking a hot take? Is that what's going on? Do you have a hot take right now on the oven?
Not really.
Are you putting some oil on there?
Would you argue that the top 4 names are correct, not the order?
I'm more than comfortable with those top 4 names.
Yeah.
I am more than comfortable with those. A lot of people out there are very high on John Mateer. And Josh has him 5. But a lot of people are that's low for Mateer. Look out. Just wait for him in that offense. They got new coordinator. Yeah. We'll see.
I mean, the
top 4. No, I'm totally good with Lagway. Excuse me, no order. Lagway, Manning, Sellers, Nussmeier. Take your 1 through 4. Pick your order. Whatever your cup of tea is. We'll know the answer at the end of the year. But I have no problem with the top 4 names. I could definitely dissect the order a little bit.
Yeah, I think that 8 through 10 are where they should be. The thing with 1 through 7 is there are 2 quarterbacks, Lenore Sellers and Garrett Nussmeier, who I feel like should make you feel comfortable, as in they understand the offense that they're in, that they're working in, they've already performed in it. They've already succeeded in it. They've already kind of proven it. Lagway was a true freshman last year and had some injury issues, kind of in and out of the lineup. Had some moments, had some rough moments. So I could certainly make an argument with Josh that I don't know that he's proven enough to be there. Arch Manning hasn't played, but we're going up off of talent alone. I know everybody's going to say, "Well, it's just off his name."
I don't think it's I know people say that, but I don't believe
he
has talent. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I agree with that.
Whether or not it translates this, I mean,
I think
we know that anything less than a playoff is disappointing in Texas. What I love about this is, Jamie, Lenoris and Nussmeier go head-to-head in Baton Rouge. Lagway and Manning go head-to-head in Austin. What I don't like is you don't see Lenoris against Manning. You don't see Lenoris against Lagway.
You see him against Klubnik.
Correct.
You see him against Simmons, Mateer.
Yeah. I mean, I would just love to see more of the best on best. But yes, Klubnik's on everybody's top 5 national list. No doubt about that.
Think about Garrett Nussmeier. He goes against Klubnik in week 1, Lagway in week 3. And in week 5, he goes against Austin Simmons and then Lenore Sellers in week 7.
Yeah, he's going to be tested. They had a great portal class. They've always got good wide receivers. Although I thought last year wasn't your typical crop compared to what it normally is in Baton Rouge. Big year for LSU. Big year for Brian Kelly.
I personally like Nussmeier at 1 right now. I would probably flip the order. 4-3-2-1. Nussmeier, Sellers, Manning.
Sellers, Manning, Lagway. I mean, I don't think many people would argue. Again, I think 1 through 4. First off, they're all different in their own way.
Yeah.
Nobody is even close to the runner Lenore Sellers is. Nussmeier, most people would say, has the best NFL arm talent today. Lagway, people rave about the arm talent, but there's not enough data. He needs to show more. And, oh, by the way, he's been nursing a dinged-up shoulder. And then Arch is Arch. I mean, Arch, when I think of Arch's biggest plays, I think of runs. You know?
Who's LSU's best returning receiver, Mike? Just out of curiosity.
Oof. You're going to have to give me a moment on that one. Like I said, they don't have a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson, and their one kid got in trouble with the law. The guy, what's that?
Wasn't it Kyron Lacey?
Lacey, yeah. I mean, he's gone, but yeah.
It's Aaron Anderson.
And they also lost, by the way, the tight end, the son of
Mason Taylor.
Mason Taylor. Yeah, he's a good looking tight end, so he's gone.
Yeah,
they got Nick Anderson. I guess he's their.
What separates? I mean, I'm just out of curiosity. Like I think that I'm sorry. I can make the argument right now, and I might lose the argument. If I do, that's fine. That's okay. That Nussmeier is the more polished passer than Lenore Sellers, based on what we last saw in January. Because we haven't seen him since then. Okay, and I'm actually one who gives Lenore Sellers a little bit more credit than a lot of people do with how he throws the football. I'm not talking about anybody here. I'm talking about just other folks in general that think he's just a runner and they're wrong. But I would say, who's the more polished passer? I would go with that because I haven't seen either one of them yet. When it comes to what surrounds these guys up front, I would, again, based on what we feel like we know, you give LSU the nudge on the offensive line. I would say that's pretty clear to this point. Could that be different in August or September? Of course it could be. But as it stands today, right now, it's June 24th, I would give LSU the nudge. I asked about the wide receiving corps. I actually feel like we might know a little bit more about South Carolina's wideouts than we do about LSU's.
Nick Anderson's a transfer from Oklahoma. I mean, we've seen plenty of Berrien Brown, but I think of him as a great return guy.
Right.
I don't know if he's a consistent threat. Like I'm saying, I don't think this is the best crop of LSU wide receivers I've seen in a while, because they had it rolling where every year you got first rounder here, first rounder there, and a first rounder on the bench waiting to be groomed. I'm not sure if that's there this year.
But I never count him out, though. There's probably
I don't either.
Throw a helmet on the ball boy, and all of a sudden he's 1,000-yard wide.
Yeah, exactly. And typically those guys from the Bayou, they figure it out. But no, I don't know. That'll be interesting to see if they're of that caliber this year in Baton Rouge. Should be very interesting. Okay, so we did on JC and Morgan a kind of a play on the happy meter, Jamie. We did the heat meter. Various coaches,
love it,
in the SEC on the hot seat and kind of what their degrees of heat were. We went over 6 of them. Remember, last year, not a single coach fired in the SEC. First time in a while that's happened. Chances of that happening in back-to-back years, probably slim and none. So this is just 3 guys that are on it. There's 6, but here's 3, and I thought it was interesting. I didn't realize this till I read it this morning. Mark Stoops, and again, 2 10-win seasons, has done things in Kentucky football that have never been done, but there's no question he is on a hot seat coming off of 4-8. You know what his buyout is at the end of the season, 2025?
Oh, let's go with $10 million.
$10 million. That's a fair number. How about 37.5?
For Mark Stoops?
37.5. And that's not like, well, we can pay that over 10 years. I think it's within 30 days.
Oh,
so you better, if you're already sitting there ready to pull the trigger, $37.5 million. Wow.
Golly. Everybody, they beat up on Coach Tanner for the Muschamp deal.
Yeah, which was what, like 12?
God.
$37.5 million.
When did he sign that deal?
Well, remember he was. It was off right after the second 10-win season.
Yeah,
he had all the leverage in the world. They gave him a salary, top 10 in salaries across the country. I don't know if that's still top 10, but he's up there. What about Auburn? So Auburn loses to Oklahoma last year. The Tigers lost their first 4 SEC games in 6 of 8 overall. Hugh Freeze finishes at 5-7. For the second time in 3 years, the Tigers fail to qualify for a bowl game. So he's got year 3 to do a course correct here. I mean, they've got to figure it out. And he even says, quote, on a podcast, "I'm not a fool. I think we've got to go to a bowl game." Some would say you got to do more than just that. I don't know if a 6-7 year would satisfy folks on the Plains. Now, he's quick to point out, and this is what coaches do sometimes. Look, I inherited a program that didn't have a top 25 recruiting class for 4 years. We've had nobody in the top 10. We've had back-to-back top 10 since I've been here, is what he's saying. And, of course, they did crush it in the portal. John Cohen is athletic director, former baseball coach. "There are 2 ways I evaluate our program right now. Do we still have kids in the locker room? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. Are we needing evaluating and recruiting top 10 classes? I would say the answer is yes." So he's kind of got his man for now. For now.
Okay. Hold on.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you a question.
All right.
Never asked this question. This is the first time I've ever asked this question. How good of a coach is Hugh Freeze? Because I'm not saying he's a bad coach. Mm-hmm. Okay? Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm just saying, when you go look at what he's done in his career, I feel like the hype gets really inflated for Hugh Freeze based on the results that I'm not saying he hasn't had good results. He has had good results. And he's, I actually say his calling card is winning bowl games. Wins a lot of those. But I don't know that the hype always matches the resume.
I would say he's living off a 2-year span at Ole Miss where they were ridiculously good beat Alabama back-to-back years.
There you
Did
go.
so without a blue-chip quarterback. And, played in, back then we had BCS bowl games, right? That is what put him sky high. Now, what followed? Probation and a scandal. And he had to do his time at Liberty. Kind of went the Lane Kiffin route. Redeemed himself. Rebuilt his career. And to your point, look, if the third year they don't make progress at Auburn, I think he's in trouble. And I think a lot of people are going to say what you just asked. Well, maybe he's not so good. Maybe not. Maybe that was just a 2-year blip, but maybe he's not a great coach. I think all that's fair play. His buyout, much cheaper than Stoops. If they want to fire him today, $20.3 million. I think they're still paying Gus Malzahn. The buyout represents 75% of his remaining contract value at the time. It's structured to pay him out. He would be owed the lump sum within 30 days. And then there's Brent Venables. Venables, for years and years, wouldn't leave Clemson. Everybody wanted a piece of Venables. He said, no, I'm happy where I am. Then finally, Oklahoma came calling. He said, you know what? It's time. And that hurt Clemson. And hurt Dabo. So he comes to Oklahoma and follows the prodigal son that is Lincoln Riley. Say what you want about Lincoln. He did win a lot of games. He just didn't win the biggest games. So Venables gets there, and they can't get anything going right. 2 out of the 3 years, bad. Last year, highlighted or lowlighted by a 35-9 home loss to who? South Carolina. They immediately fired their OC after that game. The Sooners were sacked 9 times and tackled in the backfield a total of 13 times in that game. Mm-hmm. It was 21-0 Carolina 5 minutes and 20 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
The loss marked consecutive home defeats for the Sooners, something that hadn't happened in forever. Venables brings Ben Arbuckle from Washington State now to run the offense. That's Mateer's guy. And they're going to see if they can turn it around. Now, if they don't, Oklahoma is going to be out for blood. The buyout after this season would be $34.9 million. His contract is fully guaranteed and includes offset language, meaning the buyout would be reduced if he finds another coaching job. What do they call that? Mitigation or something?
Yeah.
But in other words, it's going to be really, really, really pricey to fire him if it doesn't work out. So we shall see. All right, first-round picks, NBA draft. There are a few from the SEC. Trey Johnson caught a number of his games, very high on him out of Texas. The composite first-round projection has him going 5 to the Jazz. Jeremiah Fears of Oklahoma, 7 to the Pelicans. And Collin Murray-Boyles, 12 to the Atlanta Hawks. The SEC won't be done there because they have a number of guys that are projected to go in the second round, including Janai Broome, Adu Thiero, Chaz Lanier, Elijah Martin, Amari Williams, Grant Nelson, Dylan Cardwell, Mark Sears, Kobe Brea, and Will Richard. I forgot to mention Walter Clayton as almost a surefire first-round pick as well. So the SEC will likely have at least 4 first-round picks and another half a dozen second-round picks. So you can expect the SEC to once again lead the NBA draft in draft picks. And again, we mentioned Carolina will have its first one. I'll just leave you with this, Jamie, as we get ready for the bouncer himself. Just a little analysis on Murray-Boyles. This is from NBADraft.net. Strengths: a physically mature and mentally tough forward with an old-school skill set, a blend of grit, versatility, and motor that makes him a unique front-court presence, measured at 6'6.5", with a 7-foot wingspan and a surprising 8-foot 10-inch standing reach. He finds ways to overcome lack of size and lift with toughness, intensity, and pop. Highly productive sophomore campaign at South Carolina, averaging 17 points, 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.5 steals per game, a reflection of his active hands and defensive anticipation. Offensively, he's effective in the mid-post and short corners, using footwork strength and touch to isolate and finish through and around defenders. Defensively, versatile, capable of switching onto wings or banging with bigger players inside. He can guard multiple positions. Weaknesses: undersized for a traditional post player, not particularly quick or bouncy. Much of his long-term offensive potential hinges on developing a reliable jumper, but there's currently little statistical evidence to suggest that's imminent. Without a more refined offensive skill set or improved athleticism, his scoring efficiency and overall impact may be limited against NBA caliber competition. So take all that for what it's worth, but he's going first round. He's making some history tonight. First Gamecock since Ronaldo Bachman.
Incredible. Go CMB.
CMB, yeah. I'm pretty sure he got invited to the draft.
Yeah, he did.
So he'll be there. Cameras will be on him. And again, good exposure for the program. And that'll do it for the Love Chevy Drive around the SEC. Maestro, take us out, please.
Brought to you by Love Chevy. Act now for spectacular savings on the best selection of new Chevys. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
All right, it is 11:31. We need to step aside. This hour brought to you by Gamecock Traditions, GamecockTraditions.com. I was browsing all the new shirts last night. Wow, pretty cool stuff. The new gear is here. GamecockTraditions.com. Have it sent to your doorstep. John Strickland will join us when we return.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
Welcome to SEC Sunday Night, part of the Chief Sports Network. Debuting Sunday, June 1st at 8 p.m. on the Chief Sports app and the Chief Sports YouTube page. Hosted by Rob Williams and Craig McMichael, SEC Sunday Night will feature the conversations, have the information, and host the guests that make this storied conference great. Join us June 1st for SEC Sunday Night on the Chief Sports Network.
There's nothing like Saturday in South Carolina. However you enjoy Gamecock football, Gamecock Traditions has a long-standing legacy of being a part of your game day. From tailgates to touchdowns,
Diving and into the end zone.
Gamecock Traditions has what you need and want with our beloved Block C logo. Get into Gamecock Traditions in Lexington or the Village at Sand Hill, or visit GamecockTraditions.com and have it shipped to your doorstep. We look forward to taking care of your family. Go Gamecocks.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com. Man, that's good.
You're tuned in to Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show, presented by Resto Pros of the Midlands, part of the Chief Sports Network. Go Gamecocks!
right, it is the final segment of the morning show here on a Tuesday, 11:35 to be exact. Welcome back. We are powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston, electricbikescharleston.com. That's Big John, that's Golden Tones, and it's little old JB. Hey, John.
What's going on, guys?
From the
What's up, John?
John Strickland Bourbon Studios. What's the big? Hey, I had what did I have the other night? Castle and Key. How do you like that?
Oh, right. I've been there. I've been to that. I've actually had dinner there. They have
really? Cool place. I mean, it looks like a castle.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, the bottle's cool. It's the first time I'd ever had it. Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I would not drink it again. I'm not so sure I'd go out of my way to find it. But it felt like there's maybe a little bite or something at the beginning, like when you first. I don't know.
It is a cool place to go.
They have a weeded, they have different variances of the product, but yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it's not bad. All right. Well, I've never been there, so the next time I go to the Bourbon Trail, where is it?
It's basically in between Lexington and Louisville.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's not like one of these like pop-ups that's showing up in like downtown Louisville. I don't really consider that.
No, it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's a beautiful, like John said, it's an actual castle with a restaurant built in.
Okay,
it's a neat visit.
It's not that castle that's on what's the road coming out of Lexington. You know that castle you can like Airbnb or stay in it or something. What's that called?
I don't know what that is, but it's
around all the horse farms. It's around all the horse farms. It's not far from where American Pharoah was once. I don't know what the word is. Grazing? I don't know. All right. Anyways, I don't know how the hell we started talking about that. Oh, I got one other random thing to talk about. Would y'all eat this? Bojangles has a new breakfast item. Has anybody seen this? The Burrito, country style sausage, eggs, bow rounds, Monterey Jack cheese, and sausage gravy in a flour tortilla.
Yeah.
I think I'd try it because it's Bojangles. What about Mike? Doesn't like cheese, so he won't eat that.
It's not a Bojangles dish. It's just that's not for me. That combination.
Okay, fair enough. That's all right. Fair enough. All right,
sounds like a great hangover.
I know. I don't know how many times a Cajun filet biscuit combo with a sweet tea saved my life, but Gary doesn't like Bojangles. I'm like, well, you have them to thank, because if it wasn't for them, I'd be dead and you'd be single. They saved my life for years on years, right there around Williams-Brice Stadium, multiple times across the.
You know what our little go-to is right now? Bojangles are the new Bo Bites.
Yeah,
the big chicken nuggets. I mean, those chicken nuggets are about as good as anywhere.
Yeah. She might not be single. She'd just be married to a lesser man, but you get the point. All right. What were we talking about? Football? Is that the topic? All right, John. Let's start with this. We haven't talked about the secondary in a while, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like every year they're losing someone or two people to the NFL, and they continue to just, figure it out there. I'm going to ask you just a point blank, bold question. It's just an opinion. That's all. It's just an opinion. If you answer the way I think you will, I think you'll be right. Is Torian Gray the best secondary coach in college football?
100%. I don't think there's one better. Some of these DBs we had in this past weekend, I know the one kid, Smoke Matthews, you're here in Texas, but I mean, why not stay in the Carolinas and come play for the best secondary coach there is?
I think that there are a couple of national folks that have him going to Texas, and my understanding is I'm not so sure that there's some people around here that would be willing to go that far. Maybe he's leading them in a little bit of a different direction than where this thing might actually end up. He's up there just north of Charlotte. Just north of Charlotte, right up there on Lake Norman, basically. That's where he's from.
Yep. I mean, that would be a big get for us, and I think it would be good for him as well.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Jelon Kilgore, Mike and I were talking yesterday. Jelon Kilgore is starting to crack some people's draft conversations as it comes to next year. We're a long ways away from this. But give me your synopsis of Jelon Kilgore. Is he in some way, shape, or form maybe considered the leader, if not a leader, of the defense this season?
Yeah, I would say he is the leader, especially in that back half back there. I'll be honest with you. I just like the group as a whole, but I think you watched Jalen just get better and better last year as the season went on. He made some big plays. My favorite part about him last season was he gives up the touchdown to Luther Burden. He was right there. He just kind of, he misjudged where the ball was and gave up the touchdown, and then he closes the game out with an interception. I mean,
yeah.
He seems like one of those guys that, something can happen that's not good, and he just washes it away. And that's what you want in a really good football player. You want a short memory. And he seems like to be that kind of guy that can do that. And, I mean, I think he's a hell of a player. And I think our secondary, I really don't see much drop-off. I think at the corner position could be even better this year.
Yeah, it's pretty – all right. So you went out on this ledge with me last year. Thank you very much, because I felt like I was out there by myself, and then Big John came along. Nobody messed with me anymore. Last summer, I kept mentioning, Mike, you'll remember this. I said, look, I'm telling y'all, O'Donnell Fortune's going to have a big year. This kid's a good
had
player.
a man crush on
OD.
Mr. Fortune. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, there's no question. OD, I can send you my address if you want to, checks in the mail type deal if you're willing. First of all, I love the name. O'Donnell Fortune just rings NFL, if you ask me. But he did have a fantastic season. They didn't throw to his side of the field ever. And if they did, it was very rarely completed. He was one of the lowest percentages of completions against in college football, as a matter of fact. But he's gone. So I'm going to go out on another limb here. Different position, similar setup, though. DQ Smith is a guy who's been around. He was kind of an under-recruited state of South Carolina guy. He also played quarterback, as we all well know. And something just continues to tell me, also based on intel, but just based on gut, when you see 3- and 4-year guys that are starting in the secondary around here, it more times than not kind of works itself out. So I'm out on that limb again, John. And you being 6'4" to 230 pounds of nothing but muscle, would you be willing to stand out there on this limb with me?
I would. You got DQ back. DQ has so much experience. DQ, he's been a consistent player his whole career here at South Carolina. He's made a lot of big plays. He's another one that I'd look to as the leader. He could be the leader of this defense. He's the old guy, the old head around. So I think a lot of the guys will listen to what he has to say. I really like DQ. I'll tell you what, I just like our safety nickels and corners all around, to be honest with you. I mean, I think, you lose OD and you lose Nick. I get it, right? You lose those guys, but there's so much experience back on this team, including bringing in who I think is going to be an elite DB in Brandon Cisse.
Yeah.
So it's just like you plug in and play. So I don't see any drop off with this secondary. Just if I'm just being real with you, you got Cisse, Judge, Vicari, some other guys, like Jalewis Solomon. Let's see what he can do this year. A few other guys there at the corner, and then at safety. Peyton Williams, when he had to play last year, I thought he played great. Thought he did some really good things.
Yeah.
So another younger guy that he's going to be a junior this year.
Yeah. Redshirt junior.
Yep. So you got him along with Jalen. DQ. Excited to see what old David Busey can do. Who else? Gerald. Let's see what Gerald Kilgore brings to the table.
Yeah.
Kelvin Hunter. I think we just got some really good players in the secondary this year, and I don't see a drop. And what's funny? What was it? Was it 2 nights ago? I was just laying in bed Sunday night, and old Michael Bratton, your boy, Mike Morgan, SEC podcast. He ranked South Carolina. They were doing, top DB units in the conference, and he had South Carolina at number 3.
Yeah.
Behind who?
Texas, and I don't remember the other.
Probably either Georgia or Bama.
I don't think it was Georgia. I don't remember, but either way, he had us at number 3. And are we number 3? I don't know. I do think this group has the potential to be a top 5 DB group in the conference, in my opinion.
Well, you miss one guy. If you run fast, Jackson Berger's going to catch up. Sometimes you don't know if he can cut the mustard, but he's got a chance. It's my guy Jackson Berger. Going to make sure we give him a shout out. I don't know Jackson. I just love his last name, Berger. Just for anybody wondering, he's not really like a friend or anything like that. Okay, so Eamon Worry. I mean, there's nobody of that size on this in this group, as we all well know. Like, he doesn't have like those NFL metrics built into him, kind of machine like that he was. But back there in the back half of the defense, and Mike, when you just mentioned probably Bama or Georgia. One of the things that Bama or Georgia or Texas, which is in our tier 1, right, Mike? That's our tier one every year of who can get into the college football playoff. One of the things that always makes those secondaries that kind of separates them, and then anybody like maybe the Gators from time to time when they have really good defenses, Tennessee will have a good defense, stuff like that. You look back there and you see, well, how long have these guys been around? And that's generally the separator. Like, Alabama will plug in a guy who's a junior, but he's been in the program for 2 years. Georgia will plug in. They might play some young guys here and there, but they have dudes who've played a lot of football. And right now, South Carolina is kind of in that mode when it comes to the secondary, right? I mean, you're talking about we just mentioned, DQ Smith and Jelon Kilgore. Does everybody realize they have 7 years of playing in this league, actually playing football, like not just hanging around, redshirting and watching from this. They've been playing since they got to campus. They're about 7 years of SEC football for these guys. That's a lot of games, man. And you know what? Maybe DQ Smith or Jelon Kilgore, those guys could lack in here and there from an athleticism standpoint if they do lack something. And you can make the argument that they do. They also gain in reps, right? So I just think that is incredibly important to this defense. These guys are the back half. They're the center fielders. They're able to look at everything and see everything and understand it as well as anybody out there.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys you talk about have all played a ton of football. Even Brandon Cisse, he's basically a 2-year starter at NC State the past 2 years. And you bring this guy in, and all you got to do is go look at his stats and his film on what he's done in the ACC. So, he brings a ton of experience. And then you have Judge. He's got a ton of experience. Peyton Williams, no, he hasn't started. But Peyton Williams has played a ton of football here the past 2 years. Ton of football. Mm-hmm. That filled in for who was it? I think DQ tweaked something before the Vandy game this year. Guess who played the whole game? Peyton Williams, and had a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Had a hell of a game. So I just think you got a lot of key pieces back that have a ton of experience. So that's why I'm high on this secondary.
Yeah. Mike, one of the things that we know about the great state of South Carolina is if you get a kid out of Rock Hill, more times than not, he's probably going to be okay. Especially when you get a kid named Judge. Judge Collier will be a junior this year from York County, South Carolina, played at Legion Collegiate. Now, I don't know how those other Rock Hill kids think about that. Legion Collegiate versus Rock Hill High School or Northwestern. It might be scruffing out there in the streets. We don't like those pop-up schools in Rock Hill. No, I'm just kidding, Judge. But he's a guy that I think, as we've watched the last couple of years, how you can look at kids and say, well, you're watching them develop right in front of your eyes. You know what I mean? Your kid's growing up. I feel like every time he steps on the field, he gets better. He might get beat here or there. That doesn't mean he isn't getting better. They all get beat from time to time. I'm a huge fan of this guy. John, the more that I've thought about it in this group in the last few weeks, as we've kind of begun to slowly get there, right? Slowly give our kind of summer impressions, if you will, before we get to camp. The more I look at this group as a whole and think, you ask that question, who's the most solid group on the team and this, that, and the other? This one kind of sits at the top. If you want my honest opinion on it, and it's guys like this.
Yeah, I think this group is the group that I feel the best about on the entire defense. I really do. Now, I'm knocking on wood. Hoping I'm not wrong here. But I feel really good about this group just with everything they bring to the table and everything we've seen these guys do when they were younger, and we've just watched them grow here over the past couple of years. And, now your guy Nick's gone. He was kind of the leader of that back end. He's gone. OD's gone. Well, it's time for other guys to step up, and they got the talent. They got the talent. They got the, all the experience they need to do what they do. And then you pair it with the best defensive backs coach in college football. I mean, I don't know. Hard to argue with it.
All right, so let me ask you all a question. 2020. Anybody remember 2020? 10 SEC games. That was fun. Yep. You could go back and make an argument that secondary was pretty good themselves. Hell, I think they all went to the NFL, didn't they? I think one of them's the highest paid corner in the history of the league. And they didn't defensively, that as a unit that year was horrible. But they weren't very good either. What's the difference in a group like this versus a group like that? Anybody have an answer to that?
I mean, maybe it's coaching.
Yeah, I don't know.
More than likely could be the scheme, could be the coaching, which the scheme is the direct correlation to the coaching.
Yeah. Well, I think, Mike, do you remember way back when Shane signed on? You and I had this. We talked about this on JB and Goldwater, award-winning former show. Hat tip to Darren Goldwater, who, by the way, I saw in a commercial the other day. I texted him. I said, Darren, are you buying a car in Myrtle Beach? Seriously, it was a Myrtle Beach car dealer. He was in there buying a car. He was in the commercial. But you remember when Shane talked all about the culture and all that stuff? Remember? I don't know if you remember. We had a conversation about a lot of this. And one of the things that that was a focal point of him changing the culture at South Carolina was a lot of what was going on in this specific group here. It's nothing personal. I'm not saying anything personal about, J.C. Horn and Izzy McQuamu and all the guys that played during that time or anything like that. But I do feel like what John was just saying just a moment ago, like I could go back and look at that group and say, well, they're all in the NFL. They were incredibly talented. Look how well they're doing. They're all starting. They're all this. They're all that, the whole 9 yards. It just seems that the leadership and the unit overall, you could argue the talent level is maybe close, maybe not, maybe a little bit more, but it's so sound. It's so sound. Torian Gray.
I love.
I give a lot of credit there.
Yeah, I love what Brandon said in the chat box because it was leading me to my question for John. He said an actual pass rush. The best friend of a secondary, which no doubt was talented and good, is a pass rush.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
And you had one of the best in college football last year.
Yeah.
Right. So I've kind of asked this question, a variance of it before, John, and I'm going to go a different direction. I'm just curious with Dylan Stewart. So last year you had Kennard over the left tackle, right? Virtually, they didn't move him around a whole lot. I don't remember that happening.
No, I mean, very rare.
Very rare.
You're right.
So I know some guys are very comfortable and set on a specific left side or right side, but Dylan Stewart being the freak that he is, would you not be tempted at all to move him over the left tackle?
Oh, I think you will see him over left tackle.
You think that's going to be his permanent spot? Okay.
Yeah. Typically, you put your best rush in on the blind side
Right.
of. Now, not every quarterback is right-handed, but 90% of them
Sure.
are right-handed. So, yeah, I think I don't know. It remains to be seen. It's funny. Clowney played mostly over the left tackle. He'd move around here and there. In NFL, Clowney's played majority as of late seasons over the right tackle, just because he's gotten a little older. So But typically you want your best DN over the left tackle on the quarterback's blind side. So I don't know. It remains to be seen. I don't think it's going to – Dylan's a freak of an athlete. I don't think it's going to matter where you put him. You know, it's just like – I'll give you an example. You know, I backed up center in both guards, right or left guard. Right. If I had one hand down versus the other hand, really didn't bother me. I mean, some guys it did. Some guys it's awkward for. But I would imagine a guy like Dylan Stewart with just the athleticism he has. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you, I don't know, I go back and watch his high school film, but I guarantee you he was lining up over the left tackle.
Sure. Yeah. And then as an offensive lineman, did you hate it when guys like that did move around and you weren't sure down to down, series to series where he was going to the best pass rusher there, where he was going to line up?
No, I don't think it mattered too much, especially me being at center.
Well, yeah, you were inside, but
but you know, I don't think the tackles cared. I mean, you know, we played against David Pollock pretty much my whole career, and you know, David's a friend of mine, and he's a hell of a player. You know, David would line up at right over the right tackle the majority of the time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he'd play some over the left, but it was majority over the right tackle. So does it make that big a difference? I don't think so. But it does if you have that elite pass rusher. The problem is you have a right-handed quarterback. It gives him that opportunity out of his peripheral to see you as he's back there versus blindside, you know?
Yeah. I think that fumbleception that came up against
Don't talk about that, Mike. Yeah. Nobody wants to talk about that crap. Yeah, he was over the right tackle.
He was over the right tackle, yeah.
That was that was not a true pass protection play. It was a slide. It was a slide to the right with Corey kind of bootlegging out. And the receivers weren't quite open yet. And so Corey had to hold the ball a little longer than necessary, and Pollock just snuck in there.
Yeah.
You remember the rabbit package where you put 4 defensive ends on the field? Remember that? Isn't that what they called it? The rabbit package?
I think so. There's a few teams that have done that.
Yeah, well, Carolina did it. Gosh, who was the defensive coordinator? Was it Lorenzo Ward that did that?
Do we even have to go back that far the last time we saw it?
I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Here's the thing, though. If we've had very good pass rushing defensive tackles over the years here at South Carolina, so we really hadn't needed a package like that. We just haven't. I mean, you can maybe say, yeah, we did it when Melvin Ingram was here, but you know, Melvin was a D tackle, but he was just so freaky athletic. They would line him up into free technique, and they put him out at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what Melvin could do on a 3 technique and a pass rush and beat guys reminded me a lot of what TJ did, you know, over his career the past few years. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Melvin was kind of a hybrid.
Yeah.
All right. Under the radar secondary guy, somebody, not the usual suspects here, under the radar guy. Somebody's going to surprise us this year.
Man, I hate to keep sticking with tight ends, but
no, I'm secondary.
Oh, secondary. I mean, I think we know them all, but I would have to pick Peyton Williams.
Okay, I'm going with Gerald. I'm going with Gerald Kilgore for what it's worth. But
I would love to see that too. But I'm going with Peyton. I think Peyton's going to be playing a lot, maybe possibly starting. I think it's his time to step up, and I'm pulling for him. My stepson went to high school with him.
Oh, in Heath, Texas, huh?
In Heath, Texas, Rockwall Heath. Yep. So, yeah. That's who
probably a little warm. Probably a little hot over there right now, I'd imagine.
I think it's hot everywhere. It's summertime.
Are you okay just for a few more minutes, John? We're a little over to do, but
yeah.
Okay.
I got about 10 more minutes.
Just wanted to ask your look. There's not a lot of previewing the quarterbacks here. I mean, Lenore Sellers is the quarterback at South Carolina. I think pretty cut and dry. But a few days ago, Athlon Sports came out with their top quarterback rooms in college football, and just wanted to get some thoughts on this from you. They've got the Gamecocks at 4, behind LSU at 3, behind Clemson at 2, and behind Texas at number 1. They say about South Carolina, regardless of the Seller stuff, they made a splash in the portal, bringing in Air Nolan, a former 4-star prospect. He was the number 5 ranked quarterback from the 2024 cycle, according to the On3 industry ranking. You're going to lose one every year, and you're going to pick one up every year. I think this is going to be the revolving door of college football for as far as we can see. But overall, right now, depth-wise, how would you well, they've got us ranked number 4 across the country. That's great. How would you rank the Gamecocks quarterback room when you compare it to previous quarterback rooms?
I think it's pretty solid. You got obviously we know we got Lenore, so I don't even have to talk about him. But when you look at what else is in that quarterback room, you got 2 young guys in Cutter and Air, okay? And then you have Luke Doty, who's been around for 40 years, who, knows this program in and out, which is a reliable guy to have if, God forbid, something ever happened to Lenore's, right? He is a guy that's good to have in that room. So I think the experience between him and Lenore's is going to be good for Air and Cutter. So I think the depth is good. I can't wait to see, kind of what those guys other than Lenore's look like in fall camp. I'm going to try and make it out to a couple practices. But yeah, no, I think it's an overall solid room depth-wise. I mean, I think it's pretty damn good. It's about as good as we've had in a while.
Well, Mike and I were talking yesterday about the ESPN Jordan Reed and Matt Miller 2026 ranking their top 5 quarterbacks for the NFL draft. And was it Reed, Mike, or was it Miller? It was Reed, wasn't it, that had him 1 and 2? Klubnik and Sellers.
I think it might have been Miller. I think Reed. I mean, they're both in the top 5.
Yeah,
I
might have been Miller
somewhere.
And Reed had him 1 and 4.
What I love about the Reed one is that it's a no holes barred. Here's what's good. Here's what's got to get better.
Yeah,
and there ain't a perfect quarterback in college football.
There's not a perfect quarterback anywhere.
No, but I mean the guys in the NFL, like Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, those are generational guys. Like I don't know if any of these guys are going to be that level.
True.
So like when you're starting to nitpick, there's some interesting stuff. And Reed even like broke down the Gamecock playbook last year and how many throws were at or near the line of scrimmage and the percentage of that. It's really like it was interesting, just data that you didn't find with your average draft board guy. It's like, yeah, here's number 1, here's number 2, here's number 3. There's not a ton of skill in that if you don't give a little bit more data with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mike, I think you actually just hit on something there that maybe will probably be talked about a little bit more once we get into August and they're actually practicing the game of football. But will we see the ball move downfield more often this year under Mike Shula with a second-year starting quarterback in Lenore Sellers?
I have to think yes. And I know there's a lot of people listening out there that said, please, yes. This year, more experience, more everything, be more daring and let it rip. I'm not saying just throw it. I mean, that is the biggest knock on Nussmeier last year is that when they fell behind, he started Brett Favring it and throwing into double coverage, and that's when the picks came.
Right.
So you don't want that, but I'd like to see, number 1, I'd like to see some wide receivers step up. We all know how good this class is. So I want to see a freshman or 2 actually be legit SEC starter type guys. I mean, last year it was at times painfully conservative. I'd like to see it a little more downfield, vertical. Let's threaten some guys.
Well, Mike, I think you just hit the nail on the head. All right. As a quarterback, you got to have receivers get open and you can throw to, right?
Yep.
So guys are going to have to step up at the wide wide receiver position, and the O-line is going to have to give Lenore's time to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole combination that goes into this whole thing. So for us to get the ball downfield, two other things need to happen to help that progression get down the field. So I think that's something everybody needs to keep in mind. But, hopefully, we all know Lenore's. If you know Lenore Sellers, he works harder than anybody. He's in that film room more than anybody. He's trying to be the best he can be. And, listen, last year, first-year starter, slowly progressed through the year. Do we all want to see the ball go down the field more? 100%. Who doesn't love me? I love run blocking and running back hitting holes. But, no, I like seeing the ball fly down the field. So you got to have receivers, though, that step up and get open.
Right.
And if all this comes together, I mean, I know Lenore's is working on staying in that pocket and getting the ball down the field. So he's got to protect himself,
Yeah. Tannehill said something the other day with us that I really actually love this. Steve, I think he was in between putting a chew in and maybe drinking a beer or something like that. But he said, I asked him, what advice would you give Lenore's? And he knows Lenore's pretty well, as a matter of fact. Steve does. And he said, one of the things I would tell him are don't stop being you. Like you got those two legs and they move pretty good. That doesn't mean that you have to be considered a quote unquote running quarterback, but he felt like in the bowl game, Lenore's had kind of backtracked a little bit. I think maybe a lot of us kind of felt that, and Shula point blank said after, hey, I didn't tell the guy just stand there and throw the ball down the field. I mean, we're focusing on that. We're working on that. It's not a bad thing, but he also needs to be Lenore Sellers. It's wide open. I need to get out of here and go. And John, you and we've talked about this a lot of times and how many spies they had and this, that, and the other. And
they had two guys and only rushing three guys the majority of the pass plays of the game. So
pretty much
it kind of took that away. And like I said, credit Illinois on that.
Yeah, no doubt. There's no doubt about it. But it's so interesting to me, this kid who has every tool. He's got as many tools as any college quarterback out there. Lenore Sellers does. And he's like, it's like, he does a little bit of this. Oh, don't forget about that. You do a little bit of that. We're going to need to do a little bit more than this. I'm just hoping, and I think, and I truly believe this, that like while we're all with microphones and keyboards and whatever in the offseason trying to fine-tune Lenore Sellers for him and make him into our own little version of 2025 NCAA football, that he becomes the Lenore Sellers in the heat of the moment, because Lenore Sellers in the heat of the moment last year was unbeatable, and that's the best version of him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been around this game, played it since I was in fourth grade. How football's been even today. I mean, I just love it more than anything, and I keep up with everything that goes on. And I think Lenore would tell you this. He knows what he needs to work on. He needs to work on his progression down the field. Work on the timing, having a better feel in the pocket. And, but that just comes with experience, guys,
Yeah.
Comes with the experience. He's been a starter for 1 year in a league like the SEC. It's totally different than high school football. High school football, it was easy for him. It was easy for me. We were just better players than the guys on the high school level. But when you get here, the game's just so much faster and so different. So, he got the experience he needs. He's working all off season. So that's just what I would like to see out of Lenore's is, his progression and timing just get better. And I think the sky's the limit for him. But you want to see it every year. You don't want to see somebody peak and then stay at that. We want to see them getting better and better, even through a pro career. Just get better and better as the years go. So, I know he's working on it. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, you're hoping that room is in the spot that Lenore Sellers was in 2 years ago. He just got to sit there and watch Spencer Rattler be Spencer Rattler, and now these guys are getting a chance to watch him be himself, and then one of those guys next year. That's going to be his team. Mike, your Atlanta Falcons, while they've got Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins, are going to get a pretty good look at Lenore Sellers when he plays on their field here in a couple of months, and maybe that changes their future plans at that position. If he can,
well, they're all in on Penix, but it's anybody want Kirk Cousins? You can have him for about $40 million.
Hey, you know the third quarterback with the Falcons, I think the guy is in the wrong sport, is Easton Stick.
That is a good name.
Should be a baseball player.
Yeah, I know, right? Easton Bat, yep.
Yeah, man. No, they not to talk NFL, but I know we do have some Falcon fans. It's a big year for Atlanta in a number of ways. And Michael they're putting a lot on Michael Penix. Now, he's got a hell of a running back in Bijan. He's one of the most exciting players in the league. He's got wideouts, and they've got a line. Now you got to produce. Otherwise, coach fired, GM fired. A lot of stuff ready to go down. Not a happy fan base right now in Atlanta. Oh, by the way, the Braves can only beat the Mets, but they can't beat much of anybody else. So.
Oh, man. All my buddies back home every Sunday when the Falcons are losing close games or getting beat, they call it, they make some funny name with Falcons. Kind of like Clemsoning.
Yeah.
They have like I forget what they say.
Falconing?
They are just
Falcons 28-3, and
they're tired of it. They're tired of it.
Shoot. That's an organization. Hadn't been a whole lot of high moments in Falcon history. And the worst Super Bowl defeat ever. But that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. Are you talking about the year they got their hearts broken?
28-3.
I was in Houston for the
Talking about my man Pat DeMarco getting personal around here.
Yeah, well, Pat knows.
He didn't have anything to do with giving up that 28-3 lead.
He did not. He didn't fumble. He didn't miss a block. And he didn't call some ridiculous play calls when you're protecting a 25-point lead in the second half. But that's what the Falcons did. And they'll never live it down. Never.
Probably never won a Super
Real
Bowl
quick
either.
story, funny thing. My buddy Jim, he used to have a condominium right there in the outfield of Minute Maid Park, the Astros. And he had a Patriot sign that he had painted something on, and it hung there for years. And Barstool saw a picture of it, somebody in the Minute Maid Park. And we used to see it. Our seats where we sit at the Astros game, you could just barely see it on his balcony back there, right where the train runs across when you hit a home run. And the Barstool did a whole big write-up on it. It was hilarious.
That's great.
Well, Mike and I were talking earlier about how, things with us when Big John's on,
you just never know.
You never know what's going. So what, like, who are we talking? Is this like Jim Carrey, Jimmy Buffett? Well, you said Jim.
This is my buddy.
Like Jim Brown.
He's the operations manager for Kirby Marine, who tugs and barges.
Tugs and barges.
My buddy Jim. Who? Yeah, Jimmy Buffett. You ever heard of him? Well, I have. Yeah, you call him Jim? It's like the day that John told me out of left field, Mike. Yeah, my uncle's Mike Ditka. You didn't know that? I'm like, no.
Well, my uncle-in-law. So my
whatever.
wife's uncle, though, yes.
That's good enough. That's pretty cool. Why don't you call your boy up, the Matador Club, send him some Gamecock swag, and tell him to write a check.
Mike, I hadn't talked to him in God knows how many years.
You talking about the Sugar Raider?
Yep.
He's got a new
I think
name
you ought to get reacquainted.
We follow each other on Twitter, but that's about it.
Okay.
Sugar Raider. You never know, Big John. All right, man. All right. We're off for a couple of weeks. We'll see you during media days. Don't shoot any fireworks directly at anybody. Remember, fireworks safety this time of the year.
Yeah, I'm not a big firework guy.
Snakes and sparklers.
All right, yeah, it's cool. Whatever. I mean, I love a good fireworks show, but I don't want to be the one that has to do all the work to do it.
And the cleanup.
That's why I don't contribute anything to our neighborhood show. I'm like, if I give them money to buy fireworks, I have to go down and clean those up.
Yeah.
Good. Right. I'm just going to not contribute, so then I'm not obligated to do anything.
Exactly.
All right, gentlemen.
Thank you, John.
As always,
all right, guys.
Been a pleasure. Thank you, John. Mike, thank you, sir. I know tomorrow you're off tomorrow.
Thursday
and Friday, right? Thursday and
That's
Friday.
the plan.
Okay. We might have Lake in here one of those days.
I'd love to be reunited on the air with Lake.
It's story time. We got to get Coach in here so he can tell us some stories. He's got some great stories too.
I know a few of them. My favorite with Lake is still the 2002 trip we took to the zoo in Omaha. And his interaction with, it was either an ape or a monkey.
God.
And it was a showdown. I'll let him finish it off. But it was a one-on-one showdown with Stuart Lake and a primate. And neither one of them was going to give. And the primate had the last laugh. That's all I'm going to say.
We'll definitely get him in. Final shot here. We're, of course, powered by our friends at Electric Bikes of Charleston. But speaking of power, how about Clark Schmidt? Clark Schmidt with the New York Yankees is quickly making a case for the American League Cy Young. The former Gamecock All-American in the last 32 1/3 innings pitch has given up a whopping 3 earned runs, and that was in one of those 5 starts. He is on cruise control for New York right now as their ace. So if the Yankees are on and Clark...
Well, Max Fried is their ace, just for the record. But
No. Clark Schmidt is their ace.
Okay. Sure, I'll go with that. Why not? Hey, I won't be on tomorrow, but good luck to Collin Murray-Boyles. That's exciting to see.
We'll recap that.
And we'll go over it on Thursday. I think that'll be fun to see how that works out.
No doubt. For Mike Morgan and John Strickland, I tore up this show by my damn self.
Yes, you did. You and Castellanos both.
See you tomorrow.
See ya.